I want to talk about a very emotional and troubling situation that continues to unfold between Halle Bailey and her ex-boyfriend DDG. Over the past few weeks, more details have come to light regarding their relationship, co-parenting issues, and now a legal battle over custody of their son, Halo. This story is complicated, painful, and unfortunately, becoming more public than it probably should be. What began as rumors and whispers about tension behind the scenes has turned into a full-blown legal situation, complete with a restraining order, accusations of abuse, and a court granting Halle temporary sole custody of their child. It's a heartbreaking and cautionary tale about what happens when personal matters spill into the spotlight, especially when one or both parties have massive fan bases who are quick to judge without knowing the full story. Let's rewind and talk about how we got here. Halle Bailey and DDG, real name Daryl Granberry, were once considered one of the internet's favorite young couples. She, a talented singer and actress on the rise, especially with her lead role in Disney's The Little Mermaid, and he, a successful rapper, YouTuber, and content creator with millions of followers. On the surface, they looked like the picture of young love. But behind closed doors, things were unraveling. According to court documents filed by Halle, she was subjected to various forms of abuse, physical, emotional, and verbal. She detailed incidents that made her feel unsafe in her own home and around the father of her child. One incident mentioned in her filing alleged that DDG dragged her by the hair, chipped her tooth, and bruised her arm. Another involved him unlawfully entering her home while she was away, snapping a photo of her bed, and using it to imply that she was entertaining another man. These are not just petty fights. These are serious, deeply concerning actions. On top of that, DDG reportedly showed up unannounced at her house while both she and Halo were sick, broke her Ring camera, smashed her phone, and caused such a disturbance that police had to be called. These repeated incidents pushed Halle to her limit, and she took legal action, filing for a restraining order to protect herself and her son. Beyond the physical altercations, Halle also cited years of verbal abuse. She claimed DDG would call her degrading names during arguments, insulting her with profanities and emotional manipulation. And while this was happening behind the scenes, he was going live on stream and telling his followers a completely different version of events. He portrayed Halle as a bitter ex who was preventing him from seeing his son. The contradiction between public persona and private behavior is something we see all too often in influencer culture, but in this case, it has real consequences. DDG wasn't just venting to friends, he was weaponizing his platform against the mother of his child. One example that stands out is when he accused Halle of taking their son Halo on vacation with singer Brent Faiyaz. Halle flat out denied this in a text message, but DDG's followers ran with it anyway. This kind of narrative not only damages Halle's public image, but it also feeds into a toxic cycle where she is constantly under fire, constantly defending herself, and constantly being judged, mostly by people who know little about the reality of her situation. Given everything that's happened, it's not surprising that the court granted Halle temporary sole custody of Halo. This isn't a decision that courts take lightly. Halle also asked that DDG only be allowed to visit their son once a week for 6 hours, and even then, only under professional supervision. That might sound extreme to some, especially if DDG isn't considered a direct threat to the child. But for Halle, this is about more than just visitation. It's about peace of mind, consistency, and making sure her child grows up in a safe, emotionally stable environment. She's not trying to alienate DDG from their son. She's trying to set boundaries and protect her space after months of chaos and disrespect. The sad part is that these two people clearly care about their child, but they have completely broken down as co-parents. Halle has stated that she can't even communicate directly with DDG anymore. Everything has to go through his mother. That alone speaks volumes about how fractured their relationship is. And it gets worse. When DDG does have time with Halo, he often leaves the baby with his mom instead of spending time with him. Halle says she's done everything in her power to make visitation possible, even accommodating last-minute requests, even when she's traveling or working. But DDG, according to her, refuses to work with her attorney to set a formal schedule. Instead, he's allegedly threatened to take 50-50 its custody and contribute nothing financially. Halle emphasized that she has never received child support and has never even filed for it, though she did ask him to help cover expenses. He's only done so once. So not only is she caring for Halo financially on her own, she's also carrying the emotional labor of trying to hold their parenting situation together. Then there's the way DDG continues to handle all of this on social media. Recently, he agreed to see Halle on a specific date, May 11th, after Halle returned from the Met Gala. But instead of waiting, he showed up on May 5th while she was working, and then went online claiming that she was withholding his son. It's this pattern of unpredictable behavior and public victimhood that has made things so difficult for Halle. Each time DDG shares half-truths with his fanbase, she becomes the target of online harassment. He reposts clips and comments from people who openly disrespect her. He supports creators who call her names like a demon. And when his own family members, his brother and sister, chime in to defend him, it only adds fuel to the fire. They've even reposted TikToks where Halle talks openly about being a passionate emotional partner, using it against her to paint her as aggressive or problematic. Halle has said that she never wanted to go to court. She tried to make the co-parenting work. She allowed DDG access to Halle even when he barely spent time with him directly. But after months of threats, inconsistency, emotional stress, and public attacks, she decided enough was enough. In her own words, she said, "I cannot allow this abuse any longer. I cannot keep living like this. I never know when he's going to demand our son be in his mother's care or whether I'll be subjected to his threats." That's the core of this entire issue. She wants structure, accountability, and peace. Looking ahead, DDG and Halle have a court hearing scheduled for June 4th. Hopefully, the judge will be able to establish a more permanent solution that centers Halle's well-being above everything else. Ideally, both parents can eventually co-parent peacefully, but that can only happen if both are willing to cooperate and put ego aside. Right now, DDG has a lot of growing up to do. He may love his son, and I genuinely believe he does, but love without maturity, accountability, or consistency isn't enough. He can't expect to build a healthy relationship with his child while undermining his child's mother in public. At the end of the day, no one wins when a child is caught in the middle of a toxic relationship. Halle is doing what she feels is best to protect herself and her son. She's not perfect, nobody is, but she's standing up for herself and for Halle's future. And if DDG truly wants to be in his son's life, he needs to prove it. Not with words, not with live streams, but with real action, cooperation, and respect. Thank you all for tuning in. This situation is ongoing, and I'll continue to provide updates as we approach the next court date. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay informed. Let me know your thoughts below.